I have a little shadow that goes in and out of me, and what can be the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me from the heels up to the head, and I see him jump before me when I jump into my bed. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow, not at all like proper children, which is always very slow, for he shoots up taller like an rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little that there's none of him at all. He hasn't got a notion of how children ought to play and can only make a fool of me in every sort of way. He stays so close beside me, he's a coward, you can see. I'd think shame to strike the stick to nursey as that shadow sticks to me. One morning, very early, before the sun was up, I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup, but my lazy little shadow, like an errant, a sleepy head, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. When the dawn winds whispered to the standing corn in the rose of the morning, from the dark of born is born all my shadowy garden seems to grow aware of a fragrant presence half expected there, and the golden shimmer of the burning noon, when the birds are silent and the poppies swoon. Once more I behold her, smile and turn her face with its infinite regard, its immortal grace. When the twilight silvers every nodding flower, and the noon moon hollows the first evening hour, is it not? Her footfall down the garden walks, where the drowsy blossoms slumber on their stalks, in the starry quiet, when the soul is free, and a vernal message stirs the lilac tree. Surely I have felt her pass and brush my cheek with eloquence of love that does not need to speak. Tall, dark, and handsome as selfie, my shadow flirts with the sun as I caress the darkness. We are one and separate as my shadow smiles. Anxiety suffocates me. The shadow will soon fade. I shall die, one happy, one not. Gray, cold, and gray is the desolate wintry sky as the colorless daylight fades away and the starless night draws nigh. I sit in my darkened room by the fire. It is burning low, while fancy weaves in her pauseless loom, and swift and silent amid the gloom her shuttle glides to and fro, sad, sombre, and sad is the web that she weaves tonight, and it wraps my soul as the world is clad, and so the desolate evening light, strange as the nameless sorrow, I weep and I scarce know why, and it is the frown of some dark tomorrow that looms above me, and I must borrow grief from by and by, why fancy why hast done, so I'll by task, instead of a gloom like the starless sky. Oh, give me the thing I ask. It is just as easy to rear a sunny castle in Spain as to conjure up some faith and fear, some shadowy grief that brings a tear from the ache of a nameless pain. A nature contrasts of day and night, highlight the midnight moon with the sun's winged light. Beauty bounces off filtered rays of summer shadows and glitter and rain. A light is seen because there is dark. A simple kiss becomes a spark in the shade of the acacia tree. A desert sun filters and flits, casting butterfly beams in the dust, soothing sweet the sweat off my brow. I lean lazily on the warm tree trunk, chewing a straw of dried yellow grass. Heat shadows waver, shifting off the ground. Eyes of a slit, a summer sun watching a dreary night. The hour I watch contoured to dreary shadows there behind a curtain white. The lamp is burning in a field of light. Two shadows of the night, alone, one beside one another, alone, each for the other, and weariness and thirst. There the shadow of a man and the shadow of a woman painfully ahead, toward a head inclines, and none shall hear the other powerless. They yearn, perhaps they whisper, what are they frightened of? Tensely hand hands to hands stretch out, and still they never touch. Powerless they yearn, and again one beside the other, each for the other stands. Perhaps they whisper, but perhaps they shout, but perhaps they scream, and none shall hear the other. Two shadows of the light, through so much light, they will not hear each other, nor will they reach along or reach for the other. In weariness and thirst, they, the shadow of a man and a shadow of a woman. In a dark time, the eye begins to see. I meet my shadow in the deepening shade. I hear my echo and the echoing wood. A lord of nature, weeping to a tree. I live between the heron and the wren, beasts of the hill and serpents of the den. What's madness but nobility of soul, at odds with circumference, the circumstance that the day's on fire. I know the purity of pure despair, my shadow pinned against the sweating wall. That place among the rocks, is it a cave or winding path? The edge is what I have, a steady storm of correspondences, a night flown with birds and a ragged moon, and in broad day the midnight come again. A man goes far to find out what he is, death of the self, in a long tearless night, all natural shapes blazing, a natural light, dark my light, and darker my desire. My soul, like some heat, maddened, a summer fly, keeps buzzing at the sill, which a fallen man. I climb out of my fear. The mind enters itself in God, the mind, and one is one, free in the tearing wind. Letting the ivy roam, a moonlight serenade to a begun favor, sense, and a gentler breeze, the thought to one, a grace, fastidious face, for a little face, pink of a bow and a dew, irony we seldom stink and prosper, the alienation we sold, together in legend, we tell a tale to a God's question, letting the ivy see as a redress of futures, fools, paces and set in a catch of futures and the light, a wavering kiss and the doles of redemption, have her soul and kin, taken to remember a night. My name is a person, order and truth, to a never selection of hearts, or the ivy spared for. We conceive a notion, made to tailor a secret, an irony side, like the bird it was a concern that led to devotion. Ivy sleeps, shadows play, and the breeze we assume are the piece of decency that has awoken and seen the sun come for why persuade a kind from dread or fruit is a gift of agony, building halts, continuing salt, when has a legend presumed, a finish of soons, reasons the toe of exception is a wind to differ to a copious fall, looking ivy in the eye, asking Nix for not a need seasons. The fight is brutal. A Latin ivy is like a breath between friends, aching at the completed hour of the duty they, and strange smiles set in similar paths to the defining a must that only with help wins a role no greater than now, a whisper that ended and the world's defiled. Ivy wants your life for a silence. Ivy has the stomach to turn direction in the beauty. Ivy seemingly aloof to worth to realize a gift is fast to the chin. Ivy knows you like a taken privilege. On the other side of saying we, I quite often look at my shadow. I like how it follows me round and does all the same things that I do without ever making a sound. It hides when the weather is cloudy, but I know it's always quite near, for later as soon as the sun shines, my shadow is bound to appear. I've noticed sometimes in the evening, while watching the sun going down. My shadow gets all tired and lazy and stretches right out on the ground. But then when it comes to my bedtime, I lie down and switch off the light, my eyes closed. I can't help but wonder where shadows like mine go at night. Perhaps it meets with other shadows, sits down and tells them about me, the silly things that I've been doing, and hears his friends laughing with glee. But when I awake in the morning, I'm always delighted to see, as soon as I draw back the curtains, my shadow's there waiting for me. The tiny dog walks slowly in my brain and tells me of Ted Bundy and Star Trek. I am the big dog in charge and the leader of the mind. Although very uncoordinated, I strive to be free. Ha ha! Don't miss the transient memory. It is all there to see, but I turn away and watch the shadows on the wall. Oh, so beautiful. After their game, the boys had the walk. On the way home, they started to talk. The sun was up high. It shone on their back. They noticed that two boys in front of them were thin and black. One said, "I bet if our shadows fought, mine would win." The other looked at him and with a snaggletooth grin, they started throwing punches until the sun went out of sight. One said to the other, "Now we will never know who won the fight. We blame the groundhog for 6 more weeks of winter, though it's the sun's fault." These cowboy rides into the shadows, western silhouette, a dark eagle flies the sky to keep him company. The shadows dance around the horse's rhythm, dancing in the quickly descending dark. He's headed home after a long, hard day, shadowed cowboy heading for the welcoming light. How much of Earth's beauty is due to its shadows, the tree and the cliff and the far floating cloudlet, the uniform light intercepting and cross and give manifold color and change to landscape. How much to our life is in debt to its shadows, to griefs that refine us and cares that develop and wants that keep friendship and love from decaying. With nothing to cross us, we perish from anew, still as on windless nights the moon cast shadows are so still will be my heart when I am dead. Circles transparent, black as night, circles with gold spokes of sun rays, transparent as sun that shines, transparent as moon that beams. Clear shadows whirl and flit as I think of it. Transparent is the whole world spinning, the whole spinning world as it spins and it swirls and it twirls and it swirls. Where shadows fall, another world ignites, flaming in my brain, monsters crawl, product of a fertile mind. And I run screaming, but I can never escape because they are in me, a sway on a red rose, a golden butterfly, and on my heart a butterfly night winged, moonlight shadows on my face, shadows leaves and pattern grace, a silver shining, a lovely lace, leafy shadows on my face, sunlight shadows on the street, people lying at my feet, keens and poppers, there I meet, watching shadows on the street. Yes, Katie, I think you are very sweet, and now that the tangles are out of your hair, and you sing as well as the birds meet, that are playing like you in the blossoms there, but now you are coming to kiss me, you say. Well, what is it for? Shall I tie your shoe, or loop up your sleeve in a prettier way? Do I know about ghosts? Indeed I do. Have I seen one? Yes. Last evening, we were talking, taking a walk that you had to miss. I think you were naughty and cried to go, but surely you'll stay at home after this and away in the twilight lonesomely. What is the twilight? It's getting late. I was thinking of things that were sad to me. They're hush. You know nothing about them, Kate. Well, we had to go through the rocky lane, close to that bridge where the water roars, by a still red house, where the dark and rain go in, and when they will at the open doors, and the moon that had just walked up and looked through the broken old windows and seemed afraid, and the wild bats flew, and the thistles grew, where once in the roses the children played, just across the road by the cherry tree. Some fallen white stones have been lying so long, half hid in the grass, and under these there are people dead. I could hear the song of a sleepy dove, as I passed a graveyard near, and the cricket that cried, and I looked, the ghost is coming at last, and something was walking at my side. It seemed to be wrapped in a great dark shawl. The night was a little cold, you know. It would not speak. It was black and tall, and it walked so proudly and very slow. Then it mocked me everything I could do. Now it caught at the lightning flies, like me. Now it stopped where the elder blossoms grew, and now it tore the thorns from a gray bent tree. Still it followed me under the yellow moon, looking back to the graveyard now and then, where the winds were playing the night tune. A ghost doesn't care for men, and your papa couldn't have done it harm. A dark-eyed darling, what is it you see? There you need it hide in your dimpled arm. It was only my shadow that walked with me. There's something now that no one knows, that never seems to mind me. Where is it that my shadow goes, that often walks behind me? Where does it go when I come home? For often I'm without it. It's queer and very worrisome. I'd like to know about it when I go out on sunny days. Why there it is beside me, and there it is. It skips and there it plays, and from it I can hide me. I cannot run away from it. It runs as fast as Fido. And if I stand or if I sit, it stands and it sits as I do. But if I run into a square where trees stand or a dwelling, why, then it's gone. I wonder where. Who knows? It's hard to spell them, and then it never says a word. It's surely in a trance or just deaf and dumb and never heard. And if not, why don't it answer? And in the moonlight when I walk, why then it walks before me and mimics me, but will not talk, but rather seems to ignore me. And I have noticed that at noon I walk on, it's smaller, but in the nighttime by the moon is often 10 times taller. But at the door both day and night it never fails to lead me. That is, unless there is a light. Never fails to lead me. That is, unless there is a light by which it may perceive me. Why don't it go to bed with me? Or why don't it lie beside me? It seems to lack in courtesy and often can't abide me. Why should it come to skip and run without a word or comment and stay with me in a moon or sun, then quit me in a moment? Why don't it come indoors and play? I'm sure that it is able. Why don't it stay with me all day and eat with me at the table? But that's the way it is, you see. When one is least expecting, it leaves or comes quite suddenly from where there's no detecting. Sometimes it's short, sometimes it's long, sometimes it's just a glimmer. It acts so queer, I know it's wrong and puzzling as my primer. For sometimes when by candlelight I go to bed, it quivers upon the stairs out of the night and scares me into shivers from ghostly corners, humped and gnarled. It leaps or down the ceiling, crabbed, a crooked kneed and knuckle snarled, goes gesturing and reeling. But where it goes when I'm in bed and fast asleep and dreaming, no one can tell me. Mother said that I'd be all for scheming and bothering her with questions that she wished I was as quiet as in my shadow or of a cat. Dear knows she'd profit by it, but my father said he'd come to find that it is more bewildering. He had no doubt it changed its mind as frequently as children. I can't, he said, tell where it goes, or stays and gone, denied you, unless it goes, as I suppose, as it lives and hides inside you, but reddening rays along the western sky and deepening shadows till the night draws on. Disport and shallows, swallows to their chimneys fly, and home-hound laborers till the work is done. If opening day is joyous, so it's close. And when weary, toilers seek their sweet repose. But brightest summer days and blooming flowers can scarce allure from my care and my pain. Though through starlit night serene, I count the hours, and morning's blush and smiles seem almost vain, ungrateful and profane. Where yet the sigh of my wanting days of life should thus go by, a sentinel before death's iron gate, and anxious vigils and uplifted prayer. With weary partner of my life, I wait, seeking to stay while her entrance there. I tread, but softly as on holy ground, while unseen spirits seem to wait around. You know, not scenes which time may yet reveal, yet this we know, that providence is kind, with steadfast hearts till heaven shall break the seal. We know 'tis merciful that we are blind. We're near in harbor of the unknown coast, with guide and pilot who cannot be lost. It shall be well, and no ill can us betide. He who led Israel's host in shining cloud points our way and walks with us beside to gain a heritage and not here found. We hear aloud princes to be ours, to be a princely part, to know no doubt or feebleness of heart. The day is mightier than the darksome night. The summer sun subdues cold winter's rain, so life shall conquer death and put to flight its kindred elements of ill and pain. We lift our heads and weakness must bow down and wait for healing and a fadeless crown. For in your light I dream as evening takes my hand. Silently I find my thoughts illumined by your beauty and soft shimmers of dancing silhouettes and patterns allowing far away breasts to sigh, eyes peer into velvet skies, a vision set in motion eternally, find me stranded of this a distance we share, north to south, longing for you, desperate for but a breeze, a movement of a shadow, a hope of wishes made up upon the early arrival of this crested view, lonely among the maples, towering soldiers line fielded boundaries, claiming wisdom as they too reach for your smile, and I yearn the knowledge of your distant view. Do you think? Do you feel? Do you dream of me? From balconies high above hibiscus footpaths, candlelit and passing moments which flicker and chant, drinking from a porcelain cup, caressed by your hand, touch my body, please, soft fingers on smooth surroundings, ripples, following moonlight, sonatas of days of spring blooms and whimsical showers, flooding affections to wash over me, carry me to you. This moon suspended in charcoal, heavens upon a bedded, a blanket of perfect pearls beckons our dreams in simultaneous fashion. Does your heart share this moon tonight with me? And unexperienced in fancy, many a sweet mistaken doubt fly, mistake though false intended true, a seeming somewhat more than view that doubt instruct the mind and things that lie behind, and many secrets to us to show, which afterwards we come to know of us did I by the water's brink, another world beneath me think, and while the lofty spacious skies reversed their abused mine eyes, I fancied other feet came mine to touch or meet, as by some puddle I did play, another world within it lay, beneath the water people drowned, yet with another heaven crowned, and spacious regions seemed to go, as freely moving to and fro, in bright and open space, I saw their very face, eyes, hands, and feet they had like mine, another sun did with the shine, 'twas strange that people there should walk, and yet I could not hear them talk, that through a little watery chink, which one dry ox or horse might drink, we other worlds should see, yet not omitted thee, and other confines there behold, of light and darkness, heat and cold, behold, I am by forever, shadow rhyme infinitist.